the blue circuit is quite a circuit for these times, in that it's a lot to do with stress, chronic fatigue, potency, has a lot to do with the thyroid and that kind of thing. Who can remember the 80s? Put your hands up if you can remember the 80s. Oh, good. Most people can remember the 80s. Some are too young, and some maybe just can't remember them. But anyway, so I was thinking about that the other day, because I remember kind of mid to late 80s in England. I don't know if they had it in other countries, but in England we got the yuppies, which were young, upwardly mobile people, I think, something like that. And they worked in the city and they had money and flash lifestyles. And they weren't going very long before the yuppies started going down with yuppie flu, which at the time to most people was like this terrible thing, because you just got so tired you couldn't do anything. And to me as well, the thought of being tired and having trouble getting upstairs and not being able to do anything was almost terrifying. And it occurred to me that this was exactly the same time as mobile phones started. Yuppie flu hit at exactly the same time. And it kind of seemed to me that probably the yuppies were first in line for those, because they were up with the newest technology. They had plenty of money to spend on the phones. It looked good. Probably not know anything about the consequences, so wearing them and having them turned on. And since then, this kind of almost plague of tiredness, chronic fatigue, autoimmune system diseases has just swept across the earth, really. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was really a lot to do with that electromagnetic radiation. And when I think back to before that time, you know, it was like people were healthy and vibrant then. They weren't fighting to have enough energy to do things. And before that time, like thyroid problems, they were almost unheard of. That was like some kind of, you had to be really unlucky to get a thyroid problem. And then on top of that, kind of come the mid-90s, I managed to pick up Lyme's disease twice. I got bitten twice, once in India and once in Germany. And I really learnt about tiredness after that, I can tell you. And still gets me today. You know, you never really recover from that. But this circuit really gets hit by that. I mean, the thyroid is very affected by radiation, and you get this relationship between the thyroid and adrenals and the pituitary gland and the pineal gland and the hypothalamus area in the brain. And the adrenals in this energy, they do govern really the nervous system in a way. So if your nervous system is burnt out, it affects the adrenals and vice versa. And one of the qualities of the adrenals, or certainly the one that gets me when the energy is traveling through the adrenals, is terror, absolute terror, and this feeling of panic attacks, or you're going to go insane, or something terrible is going to happen. And it's that colour. You know, I don't know about other countries, but in England there's this electric blue colour of the police not the siren, the light that goes round. It's that kind of quality. And also, I mean, definitely if you're a burglar or on the wrong side of the law, it kind of instills that feeling of terror. And even if you're not, I think it still has that quite foreboding feel to it, that flashing electric blue light. So the adrenals, quite often people back off from that energy because there is burnout, and then you may start getting a feeling of terror or panic attacks. But in holographic breathing, as we start working through these blue energies, when you come to the adrenals, certainly for me, that is the first experience of terror and panic. And I've learned to be with that because there's a difference from being burnt out and being affected by low energy to processing the quality of an energy in an organ. So you may feel qualities of terror when the energies are going through the adrenals, and it's not to run away from it, it's to sit back into it and enjoy that quality of terror and just let it run through your body. And that is a sign that the adrenals are releasing the tension within them. And quite often it goes as this feeling of terror, and then after a while it just becomes this lovely electric blue colour that just pulses through your body and is very, very nurturing. So a very misunderstood organ, and how to process it and work with it. And for me, it's one of the last organs before the Kundalini reaches the head. And in that experience, and I always used to get that when my Kundalini was rising for years, it would just suddenly hit this absolute terror. And that was the energy processing through the adrenals. And I just learnt to be with that after a while. The kidneys, as you drop down, these are a very different energy. These are quite a soft, it's the blue is much softer, lighter blue. It has really a very soft female energy. And with the adrenals, there is this fear as they go through, there's this panic and there's this feeling you're going to lose your mind. It is soft in the kidneys, but there's also on the downside, in the negative, when they're burnt out, there is this feeling of going a little bit nutty. And it's a lot to do with the balance of male and female energies in us between the two kidneys on either side. This isn't generally, I think, thought of as a sexual circuit, but in holographic breathing it is. The ovaries and testes and the uterus and prostate, these are a red fire energy, and the vagina and penis are very much connected to that, but it's not the same circuit. The penis and vagina more have this blue electric quality to them, very much join in with this blue circuit. And the kidneys also a lot to do with the endocrine system, the adrenals in the endocrine system. So the effects of modern life and radiation very much affecting both of these. The bladder and the adrenals are more to do with the higher energies in this circuit. They connect to the brain, the higher energies, and up and beyond. The kidneys are a bit more like the lungs for this circuit. You drop down a level, but they're still connected up, and they're still part of the endocrine system, so there is this quite high energy. but much, much softer than the adrenals. You drop down into the bladder. Again, the bladder is a lot to do with stress, especially empaths or healers or carers. The bladder will store stress in it. If you're stressed out in situations, it's one of the places that will store that stress, and it builds up and it crystallizes. We just become used to that being overloaded with that stress, and it keeps going. And again, that is an organ, if it stays stressed out, leads to chronic fatigue. And that is definitely one of the organs you can, if you are tired, we are affected, or for me, by the different things going on, pollution, what we're doing to the earth, and these electromagnetic waves that are going around. But to help combat that, we can work with this blue circuit, and the bladder is a big one in that. And I think most people, there's a stress in that people have just become used to. And by letting that release, then it frees up the whole body to receive energy. And then from the bladder we drop down into the vagina and penis. These are the earth, they're the ground energy for these blue energies. And obviously there's a sexual quality to this, or that potency of the organs in the pelvis that can release and rise up the body. And there is a strong relationship there between that potency in the vagina and penis, which can rise up through the body, as I experience as a blue color, and the ovaries, testes, uterus and prostate, which have a more red color. These play back and forth and resource each other and make a potency that can rise and heal through us. So that is what we're starting to embark on today. I have to admit, I've got absolutely no idea how to teach this to people, but I'm sure we'll work through it. And there are ways that we can connect to those energies and those organs by different bones in our face, in our torso, in our arms and legs, that relate to the different organs. And so we can start instigating that, and then feeling the breath and getting the energy going. Then after a while, it's to drop away from the movement of the breath and just be more and more with the energies and just sitting with the organs. And we've done that in the last 2 webinars. We did it in the last one where we were working with the lungs and colon and through that system. And we're going to do that in this one as well. We're going to work a lot with the organs. And I'm sure as we just keep building the energy up in them, the qualities of that circuit will start coming through for people.